then leads to a broader question. You mentioned apartheid, right? Or that was the comment that was made. And I would just say, as we engage in that, we should first address this fundamental question of what do we want in that region. And if we really want peace, and I believe you want that, then we've also got to be acknowledging that language matters here, that words matter. And we've got to use words that are actually rooted in reality and are able to bring the temperature down to create a space for that peace, for that opportunity. And so that's how I view this entire conflict. I would also say that it is really important that we create space, which you do, for dialogue that is thoughtful, and dialogue that's rooted in reality, and dialogue where we're precise with our words, where we're able to acknowledge there's a lot of nuance on these issues, and we should debate them. And just because people have different opinions doesn't make them a bad person. And just because someone doesn't agree with the Netanyahu government, which I don't on many.
I need Josh Shapiro to fuck off. I sped that shit up and even trimmed it down, but that was a solid 3 minutes of saying absolutely fucking nothing. Is it me, or is he talking like it's 2003? 2003, or maybe some other time when he was either volunteering for the IOF or writing essays about how the Palestinians were just too battle-minded to live in peace with the Israelis. Also, since we're talking about 2003, it was on this day, March 16th, 2003, that Rachel Corrie, an American activist, was run over by an Israeli bulldozer while she was trying to protest and protect homes from being demolished in Rafah in Gaza. 2003. So remember that the next time somebody wants to talk about but Hamas, who were not brought into power until 2006. By the way, to this day, there's never been any justice for her. No one went to jail. There weren't sanctions put on them despite the fact that she's an American citizen. In fact, it's a tradition now in Israel to celebrate her murder by making pancakes with her face on it. Do you get it? Pancakes with her face on it because she was crushed to death by a bulldozer. And I have to admit, when I first heard Rachel Corrie's story a couple years ago, I was shocked because she was a white American. Generally, America is belligerent as fuck if you fuck with us. And especially a white person, because we know how white supremacy values white life over others. And that's to say, that was the first time it really hit me that our relationship with Israel was different. I know I was 20 years too late to that story, but I never heard her story. In fact, the first time I heard it was on Twitter on a thread from Squirrel. To this day, I've never seen mainstream media cover it. Oh, I also found out later that Ben Shapiro had tweeted, would love to write a book called The Great Idiots of History. Rachel Corrie would make the list. Man, that's a hell of a thing to say about your fellow American there, Ben. The lesson here is this. If you're an American, even if you're a white person, and you get killed by their regime, your government ain't gonna do shit. Same lesson I learned from learning about Shireen Abu Akleh's story. I remember when she got killed, and I naively thought at the time that because she was American and a journalist, and keep in mind at this time, the Ukraine war had already happened, and our media was constantly screeching about the importance of a free press and journalism, and how Putin would lock up journalists, and we needed to protect journalists. And nothing happened. The Israelis said they were going to investigate themselves and find they did nothing wrong, and the Biden administration said they were going to investigate it and express condolences. And then, like all war crimes and abuses by the Israeli regime, it just went away and no one was ever held accountable. I guess that the one silver lining is that it has been confirmed that the sniper that did this to her has since gone to hell. This is actually what they think of us. We're just an ATM machine. Which brings me back to this hack, who not only doesn't want to cut funding for them, but won't even call it an apartheid state. Hi, Earth here. The fact that the Palestinians live under an apartheid regime is not actually fucking debatable. You can sit there stirring up that word salad, throwing in the little buzzwords like, oh, we need to have an open dialogue and words matter. It's so ironic that he's saying that words matter as he doesn't get to the fucking point and doesn't actually say anything. Yeah, you're right. Words do matter, bro. So say what? And it is precisely because words matter that anybody who is a politician that thinks they're going to run for president in 2028 that is pretending that the Israeli regime is not an apartheid state committing genocide is disqualified. The fact that he's having the nerve to talk like this and try to convince people that this is the case is not only incredibly out of touch with the Democratic Party's base and Democratic voters in general, along with independent voters, but it's actually delusional and shows how out of touch you are with reality. Let's even put aside the political point of view. Have you been asleep the last 2.5 years, sir? It's not just that his comments and his answer, which, by the way, you'll notice he actually doesn't answer the question, are completely out of touch. They're also horrendous. Like, they're actually horrendous. Like, these are fucking disqualifying comments. You, sir, are a genocide denier. Maybe 3 or 4 years ago, somebody could have gotten away with saying that fucking nonsense with a straight face. But to talk like that after what the Israeli regime has done to the Gaza Strip and after what they continue to do in the occupied West Bank, as right now, terrorist settlers are literally catching Palestinian livestock on fire, beating their goats and their sheep to death, and regularly killing them, including an American from your state less than a month ago, is diabolical. Hey, Josh Shapiro, did you say anything about that American Palestinian kid that was killed in the occupied West Bank? I don't remember a statement on it. Let me help refresh your memory, Governor Shapiro from Pennsylvania. Abu Saeem was a Palestinian American born in Philadelphia who was killed by terrorist settlers on February 18th of this year. I didn't watch the entire interview with the Pod Save Bros. Did they talk about that at all? Was he asked about that? His family has been calling for justice. Have you called his family, Shapiro? Because your failure, probably because you're racist, to do anything to help this family get justice for their murdered son in and of itself is fucking disqualifying. So not only does this genocide denier deny that there's an apartheid happening in Palestine, he doesn't even give a fuck if an American citizen from his own state is murdered by them. And the John Lovett guy interviewing him, of course, didn't push back on any of his fucking nonsense because he's a Zionist too. But thankfully, even their libbed up audience was not having it. It actually gave me some hope. Because the Pod Save Bro audience is centrist lib. And the majority of the comments section of this video was, nah, this ain't fucking it. Are you really gonna all sit here and pretend like we're not seeing that they're moving their genocide into Lebanon? And they're so outdated that they'll be like, oh, this is just about peace in the Middle East. These kind of like old talking points from the early 2000s. Peace? No. There will not be peace in the Middle East until we completely decouple from the Israeli regime. Stop funding them completely. Not any of this defensive arms bullshit. Stop funding them completely. Totally decouple from them. And also that the Palestinians get justice. This is not just about peace. This is about justice for the Palestinians. They deserve to have their state. They deserve to have their freedom. And frankly, they deserve to have fucking reparations for everything that we have done to them. You can try to couch the racism and the genocide support in nice, flowery, liberal language, but it is genocide support and genocide denial nonetheless. That is Holocaust denial, what he's sitting there and doing there right now. Go tell the people living in East Jerusalem that can't even go to church that they don't live in an apartheid state. How about you go take a tour around that fucking giant wall that's in occupied Palestine and tell me it's not a fucking apartheid state? To the people trying to make Josh Shapiro happen, I'm gonna need you guys to wrap it up. Wrap it up. He's not going to be president in 2028. And yes, you better believe it, Duck, that I am an electoralist who will vote in the 2028, and I will use every ounce of energy that I have to become a Gavin Newsom, Pete Buttigieg, Josh Shapiro, Cory Booker, any of the other bad Obama impersonator, genocide supporter, Israeli regime sims, hate account to ensure that everybody knows exactly who the fuck they are before 2028 comes around. Well, what do you want? I want a complete decoupling financially from the Israeli regime. No more funding to them. I don't give a fuck if it's Iron Dome or anything the fuck else. No more funding to the Israeli regime. Period. Dot. Full stop. End of sentence. I have had it with all of this tomfoolery. The only money that we should be sending over there is reparations to the Palestinians, funding UNRWA and the rebuilding of Gaza for Gazans. Massive sanctions and arrests on all of the terrorists in the occupied West Bank, making life hell for the people there, including terrorizing and killing Christians in the occupied West Bank and American citizens. I would also like to add to our plank that we need to enforce international law and stop allowing synagogues and religious facilities in the U.S. to fundraise and do recruitment for the terror state. And you'll notice I said enforce. It is already against international law, but they do it anyway and nothing happens. Free Palestine and Palestinian self-determination, okay? That should be the position of anybody running for president. And if it's not, go fuck yourself. And when you're done with that, go apply for AIPAC. Because we need people who are applying for the job of president to actually give a fuck about representing our country.